Hello and welcome back, everybody, to our podcast. And I'm delighted to say that we have a special guest today who's going to tell us, in fact, he's going to reveal the secrets of veterinary success. And he's going to do even more than that. He's put them into a book. Welcome, Dr Diederik Gelderman.
Hi, Kay. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi there. We're fine, thanks, Diederik. Tell us a little bit about the book. Is this the first book you've ever written?
No, I've actually written a couple on marketing, and I've written a pet care guide as well. This book's in a totally different tack. It's been something that's been on my mind for quite a while, and that was investigating what makes certain vets and certain practices successful and others not so. And so I thought I'd find a series of successful veterinary entrepreneurs and interview them to see what the commonalities were. That being said, what is a successful veterinarian or a successful veterinary entrepreneur? And we may think it's money or prominence or whatever it happens to be. And so I had some interesting characteristics. They all had to be successful in their own right, and whatever success was to them, they had to have a good quality, successful practice that clients acknowledged and all those sorts of things. And as well as that, and probably more importantly than that, they had to have a successful life, whatever that means, and again, in their terms, and be happy with their work-life balance and that sort of stuff. And as well as that, being consistent at giving something back to the community at large.
So how many people did you end up talking to come up with your book, Veterinary Success Secrets Revealed?
I talked to 18 all up, and they were all extremely generous with their time. And so what's happened is I couldn't fit everything into the book. So half the interviews were done live face-to-face, and we videoed those. The other half were done on Skype, and so we had all of them transcribed, and obviously the videos have been edited and the audio files stripped out, so we've got 3 separate things that people can listen to or watch, as well as the book. And so to make everything available to everyone, what I've done is there's interviews in the book, and all 18 people are in the book, and most of them have been cut down significantly because they've been so generous with their time. 18 and 20-page transcripts have had to be edited back to 6, 7, 8 pages to actually fit in a book. Otherwise, we'd have had a war and peace type thing. But I've created a website, and everything is on the website, and it's no cost. You don't have to register or pay or anything else like that. So the link to the website will be in the book, and then anyone that buys the book will be able to get all the words of wisdom in their entirety from all the interviews. Will
the book actually be? It'll just be a hard copy, or are you going to have an electronic version as well?
That's something I haven't quite got my head around. There's definitely going to be a hard copy, and we've already had quite a few, pre-publication orders, if that sort of makes sense. I'm currently talking to the unis about getting it in as part of the undergraduate curriculum because, again, I've talked to them and they say, wow, this is the sort of thing that graduates need to know about when they're in final year so that when they get to first year out, they know that, whatever it is that they're facing, everyone else has faced as well, and they know some of the solutions that are available. So it'll really help their transition into practice life incredibly. So the unis have been really interested in me helping them in that area. And as well as that, I'm looking at putting on a couple of seminars that new graduates can come to. And again, that'll give them the tools to face that first and second year new graduate transition, which is so hard for them. On the web, there are all the interviews, electronically, if that makes sense. So they're not all in one book. They'll all be downloadable. So as such, I guess you could call it an electronic book.
Okay, so who will people recognise? What names will people recognise that you've spoken with?
Well, the icons that people recognise, and you and I were chatting before we started, Barbara Fagere from, All Natural Vet Care, she's in there. Sam Bowden from UVG, people know. Shark Tank, Glenn Richards, people know. Gary Turnbull, there's another one. Jeff Golofsky, who has a practice in Sydney as part of the AVA. James Ramsden from PetPack, I shouldn't miss out James. So there's some of the, the iconic figures that come to mind.
Did they have anything in common that, I guess, newer vets or even struggling vets would be able to sort of go, aha, that's what I haven't been doing that I should be doing?
They all had similarities in their struggles, if I can put it that way, and they certainly all had similarities in the recommendations or what they said new graduates should do. So some of the common type information that came out was, and I think everyone said, don't accept the first job you're offered. Interview them as hard as they interview you. And if the practice that you're interviewing doesn't suit you perfectly, move on. Don't accept that job. Other things were, the first year is going to be a struggle, and you need to get yourself a mentor. You need to get yourself someone to bounce ideas off. Now, whether that someone is in the practice or whether that someone is outside of the practice doesn't make any difference. But get a mentor, get a stack of support systems around you that's going to help you get through that first year. They were two of the really common things that, and I believe I can say everyone said.
Diederik, a little bit of a controversial question here. What about the corporatization of the veterinary sector that's going on in Australia? It just seems to be never ending at the moment. Is that going to affect the kind of information that some of these more established vets are providing, and yourself?
Well, that's interesting too. I had a series of questions for everyone. I asked everyone the same question. And one of those questions was, what do you see as the future of the veterinary industry? And that was the last or the second last question in most cases. And that was a very interesting answer that came out. And most people saw corporatization as increasing. And most of them saw that as a good thing for a couple of reasons. One is that there's a whole client base out there that's happy with corporatized medicine, whether that's dentistry or vet or normal medicine, whatever, and they're happy to be able to go in at 6 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night, not care, what doctor or dentist or whatever they see, and there's a demand for those services and also for the consistency that those corporates, provide. And then there's a whole group of clients as well that are typically happy to pay more and see, the same vet, the same nurse, the same receptionist, a small family type practice. And a small family practice can be 3-4 vets. I'm not saying it has to be, one vet. And that also occurs in, doctor and dentist world, etc. So there is room for both, and both supply very different, levels of care, standards of care to clients, and clients want them both.
Fantastic. So were you shocked or surprised by anything?
Yeah, I was very surprised, Kay. There's a lot of things that came out that I wasn't expecting. Or let me rephrase it. I was certainly expecting a lot of this stuff here and there and elsewhere. So I thought if I interviewed 18 people, 3 would say this, 3 would say that, et cetera, et cetera. But the commonalities were incredible, and the common wisdom that came out. And like I said, the two things I talked about earlier, interview them as hard as they interview you, don't take the first job, and get mentors. Almost everyone said that. The other thing that almost everyone said as well was go for a niche or go for a practice type. So I guess one of the things was, decide what you love and then go for it. Most of them said that they happen to fall into what they love 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 years in one case down the road, and they were quite unhappy until that something that they fell in love with came along, whether that was surgery or whether that was being a clinician just dealing with clients and not doing surgery, whether that was doing marketing, whatever it happened to be. But as soon as they found their niche, in inverted commas, they fell in love with being a vet, and everything became really much, much easier. And they said that they should have made that decision to niche themselves in whatever it was that they niched themselves in a long time ago by design rather than by, good luck.
That's extraordinary because, of course, Brian and I have the veterinary industry as our niche. We love it. Don't know how, where we'll go with it.
It hasn't paid off the mortgage yet, but we're working on that.
So, as a last question, how soon will this book be ready for people to access or buy?
We're talking as I'm doing the final edit. So this week we'll go off to the typesetters and all those sort of bits and pieces and proofers and whatnot. So I'm thinking it's going to be 4 months from now, 4 maybe 5 months before it'll be on the bookshelves. And so I'm hoping that it'll be out in spring.
Okay, well, we're looking about August, September, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, look, thank you very, very much for giving us your time and for going to the trouble of actually talking to all these people, because veterinarians tend to be fairly shy and we don't often get to hear what makes them successful or not. So, Dr. Diederik Gelderman, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.